Today we are calling a press conference is regarding the dual language program issues DLP, which it was brought to our attention and also concern about the recent few issues on the implementations of the DLP program. So to name it is including, so the first we actually was brought to us as the parents of schools going children who are already enjoying the DLP classes have been told to switch to a non-DLP in January 2024 under duress. The second issue is the schools have been forced to open a non-DLP class in a full DLP schools in the new academic years. As it is, there are already a very few DLP schools that have met all the criteria now. So this was a newly added criteria which wasn't being stated in the current guidelines issued in 2016, which there was only 4 clear guidelines stated by then. So the third is the principals are not objective in abiding by the DLP guidelines, but instead interpret them to suit their understandings of verbal instructions given to them by JPN and MOE. So there's fourth point is ignoring parental choice clearly contradicts the spirits of the Economic Council's establishment of DLP in 2015. So we are here today. So we are representing the groups and individuals that I introduced just now. We urge the Ministry of Education to withdraw its directive that all schools, including those which have fully implemented the DLP for all its mathematics and science classes, to mandatorily commence at least one non-DLP class for the teachings of mathematics and science. And instead, we urge the Ministry of Education to retain the current practice for DLP in the existing guidelines. Since its inception, school must meet 4 criteria to enable the implementation of the DLP, which is, the first is to have sufficient teaching resources. The second is the preparation by the principals and teachers. The third is the parental requirements and consent. And last is the school performance in the Bahasa Melayu subject to meet the national average standard. To abruptly compel the opening of one non-DLP class would translate to the victimizations of the school-going child for the following reason. Where a child has been exposed to DLP throughout primary school, the child should not need to switch to BM at secondary school. This should include mathematics and general science and for those opting for art stream at Form 4. The second, the selection criteria to be placed at a BM class has not been made clear. So what criteria will the school deploy to select which student will switch to learning mathematics and science in BM? The third is, the parents have reported that they were given a take it or leave it scenarios, which means that if they insist their child continues the DLP in English, they have no option but to transfer their child out of the school. DLP is a more targeted approach towards them. TVET and NIMP, the New Industrial Master Plan for 2030, areas which our government has been encouraging students to take up. So its objectives are 3-pronged. The first is to give students opportunity to enhance their English language proficiency through the teaching and learning of science and mathematics. The second is to give students the opportunity to further access and explore numerous fields of scientific knowledge in order to compete on the global stage. And also the last is to enhance the marketability of students in the job markets. So at this juncture, we see there is no concrete need to impose a new additional guidelines on the compulsory at least one non-DLP class in all current DLP schools. Besides, there are no clear guidelines issued by the ministry pertaining to this, nor any communication or town hall being carried out before listening to the parents' and students' opinions of implementation of these new guidelines. Moreover, the Ministry of Education should not mix up the uphold BM policies with the current DLP. Students who appear to be weak in BM should be immersed in programs under the uphold BM policies instead of making them study STEM subject under BM. Make teachers who teach BMs or the mother tongue language responsible for them. Let those students whose parents have opted for them to do DLP continue pursue their education in peace. Another key that we are having the press conference today is, instead of stating that our stance regarding this new guidelines for the DLPs, today we will also officially launch an online petition which will actually call upon all the parents and any of the members of the community and the society who actually shared the same concern as us, where we wanted to retain back the existing DLP guidelines and leave the education back to the educations to actually sign the online petition, which we will share the QR code and the link later after the press conference. So we are calling upon everyone to sign this so that we can actually share the concerns to the Ministry of Education, and we hope that the voice and the opinions from the parents and the committees can be heard by the ministries. So far from what we have actually collected and we was made aware, there was no any official written documents are being seen until today. So what we heard is all the verbal communications from the officer. We heard there as from state officers and also from Putrajaya officers from Ministry of Education. They actually communicated to the school principals on these new guidelines being imposed and get them to get prepared for the new 2024 new academic years on implementing these new guidelines. So it was brought to our concern because there was no clear communication being issued. So we didn't know that what was the clear guideline, what was the instructions, how they're going to separate the students, then what is the criteria, and what is the, we cannot understand why it's being made so mysterious. Like if this is a new guidelines, then you have to issue it and let the public know, and you should seek the public opinions and also like what's the comments and feedback on this. But it was like communicated so mysterious, and there's a reason why it brought to our concern that we should actually look into this seriously, and we wanted it to retain back the existing guideline if there is no clear needs for the new guidelines to be imposed. Minister actually, she answered in the parliament during the question and answer session, and she said that the existing guideline prevails, and she said that there is no new guideline imposed, then there will be no new criteria on these one non-DLP classes being imposed. But then, just after 1 week, you recall in the 6th of December, if I remember correctly. So there is a new statement coming out from the ministries and saying that it will be handled on a case-by-case basis by the Jabatan Pendidikan Negeri. So they actually passed these decision powers back to the state of JPN and said, okay, now we let the state to decide. So this is already the one shift. The second shift is, then later afterwards, there is also officers from the state and also the Putrajaya officers. They go and meet this principal by batches. Then they give verbal communication and say, okay, this is the new guidelines and you have to do this, and go back and prepare your school. So we can see that there's a very major flip-flops, like in a few months' times. So we didn't see it as what is the clear guideline the ministry is upholding now. So there's the issues. Probably if you ask about, is there a confusion? I think it's a yes. Not just to us, to the parents, to the students, to the schools, to the principals. Like, what are they going to do? Are they going to face the same issues of the 5 schools? That the books being just called back in one day, and overnight, they say, okay, now today you go back, tomorrow go back BM. We don't want this thing, right? Because this is education, and we don't expect, even adult a company, I say tomorrow you just shift a company, you're not going to do that. But you're doing this to like 10 years old kids. Can you imagine that? So we don't think this is what Ministry of Education should handle issue professionally. So that's why we call for a clear guideline. So what is the need to have this? If there's no needs, then why not just retain the current guidelines? So I think every policy change, it should be supported by a justification. If there's no needs, then the Ministry of Education have to explain and so give a clear answer to this. Why this was being communicated to all the principals, that if there is no base on this. And second questions. Correct, yes. Yes, we will start collecting the signature and the online petition today onwards. So definitely, yes, we would like this to be communicated to them, because we wanted that the public's view and the parents' voices being heard by the ministries. So we will see how it goes. So we actually urge for all the publics and also the parents to actually join us, that if you share the same concerns, then we hope that it will be a snowballing effect, and we will ask for dialogues and also hope to bring these voices to the ministries. And of course, we have ultimate goals, which is to retain back the current guidelines, and also it's just for the sake of the kids and also for a better quality education.